Senator Elizabeth Warren is now calling for an SEC and CFTC investigation into the Trump administration based on that New York Times story this morning, which suggested that some members of the Trump administration may have been saying slightly different things in private about the threat of the virus earlier this year than they were saying in public, including on venues like CNBC. Elizabeth Warren is suggesting that this amounts to a textbook case of insider trading. Here's her statement. She says, if this report is accurate, it represents an appalling abdication of duty by President Trump and top officials in his administration. It also indicates that numerous investors may have used this early and inside information about the looming tragic economic and public health consequences of the pandemic to extract enormous profits for themselves and their investment companies. Now, Wilford, this is all going to hinge on whether or not the Trump administration officials actually said things that were materially different in private than what they were saying in public to these investors and private groups. The other question here is whether the CFTC and the SEC will actually take up Elizabeth Warren's suggestion here. Nonetheless, Elizabeth Warren firing off a press release about this just a short time ago, guys. Back over to you.
And Eamon, I mean, the other factor to this, and if there are grounds for an investigation, then great that we'll have one. But can you imagine how difficult it's going to be to prove if a fund manager decides to increase or decrease their broad equity allocation or buy some bonds? I mean, we're not talking like in and out of a stock just before a big M&A deal.
Right. I mean, look, the trick is here that the cleavage was visible at the time, right? I mean, the CDC was suggesting in early February, as late as February 21st, that, there was a real problem here, that we could have to shut down American schools, American businesses, that they wouldn't be able to stop the spread. They could only slow the rate of infection. That was all publicly known. At the same time, the White House was downplaying this, and you had folks like Larry Kudlow out there saying it had been contained, and Kellyanne Conway later saying it was contained. So for savvy investors, they could see the difference between what the CDC was saying and what the White House was saying and decide on, who they believed in that argument. And clearly a lot of investors did decide, and then their decision was, you're going to have to short the broader market because this could impact all American businesses. The question is whether those Trump administration officials were privately saying something that was dramatically or materially different, and then whether or not there's insider trading here is a whole other level of question, because insider trading law is very complicated and depends on if somebody has a duty of confidentiality. Not at all clear how this would shake out, but Elizabeth Warren making the point today.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.